Sudah didatangi dan ditawarkan untuk berinvestasi di Indonesia, Elon Musk justru membuka kantor Tesla di Malaysia. Yap, kabar mengejutkan ini berawal dari cuitan Twitter Menteri Perdagangan Internasional Malaysia yang telah menyepakati berdirinya kantor Tesla di Malaysia.
Guys, kalian tahu gak? Google udah investasi di Malaysia, TikTok juga udah di Malaysia, Microsoft juga ada di Malaysia. Itu semua beberapa perusahaan-perusahaan besar milik negara yang saat ini tuh sedang berinvestasi di Malaysia. Kenapa gak di Indonesia ya? So di video kali ini guys, kita bakal sama-sama bahas kenapa nih investor-investor luar yang besar banget itu memilih Malaysia. So, daripada penasaran, kita langsung lihat videonya. Satu dulu nyalakan juga lonceng notifikasinya supaya kalian tidak ketinggalan setiap kali gua upload video ke YouTube. Oke, sekarang kita lihat videonya.
Raksasa teknologi asing seperti Google, Microsoft, dan ByteDance berinvestasi besar-besaran di Malaysia untuk membangun AI dan pusat data. Indonesia kemana? Raksasa teknologi asing ramai-ramai nih berinvestasi di Malaysia seperti Google, Microsoft, dan ByteDance. Di Indonesia sendiri komitmen investasi mereka lebih kecil seperti Google hanya 10.000 beasiswa pelatihan AI dan Microsoft hanya berinvestasi 1,7 miliar US dollar saja. Alasan utama mereka memilih Malaysia adalah karena insentif data center yang menarik, pemangkasan birokrasi, dan fokus pada energi terbarukan. Indonesia perlu nih memberikan insentif serupa, fokus pada energi terbarukan, dan mempermudah birokrasi untuk menarik investasi di sektor AI. Investasi besar di Malaysia menunjukkan potensi pasar AI yang besar di Asia Tenggara, dan Indonesia yang udah ketinggalan jauh perlu mengejar ketertinggalan tersebut.
Pengguna TikTok paling banyak dari Indonesia. TikTok Shop, pasar terbesar keduanya, juga Indonesia. Tapi kenapa investasi jumbonya malah di Thailand dan Malaysia ya? ByteDance melalui TikTok di Indonesia sudah dapat segudang keuntungan mulai dari banyaknya pengguna dan cuan yang berlimpah. Dari GMV-nya aja, TikTok Shop Indonesia menempatkan posisi kedua teratas di dunia, tumbuh 39% dari 2023. Kemudian, harga transaksi barang rata-ratanya di Indonesia mencapai 4,98 US dollar, lebih tinggi dari Malaysia. Meski begitu, ternyata cuan yang didapatkan TikTok di Indonesia nggak sebanding sama komitmen investasinya. Tercatat, kerjasama antara ByteDance dan Gotoh hanya sekitar 23 triliun rupiah untuk membeli 75,01% saham Tokopedia. Padahal GMV-nya mencapai 101,8 triliun rupiah loh. Sedangkan di Thailand, GMV TikTok cuma 8 triliun rupiah. Tapi investasinya mencapai 61,1 triliun rupiah. Gokil, hampir 3 kali lipat dari investasinya di Indonesia ya. Oh iya, di Malaysia juga sama. Investasi TikTok di sana juga lebih besar dari Indonesia, yakni mencapai 34 triliun rupiah untuk membangun data center. Balik lagi ke Thailand, investasi TikTok di sana bertujuan untuk mendukung operasional perusahaan afiliasi dan proyeknya akan dimulai pada 2026. Kalau kata Sekjen Dewan Investasi Thailand, Narit Terstiraksudi, ini jadi langkah yang mendekatkan Thailand sebagai pusat digital di ASEAN. Soalnya kalau dilihat-lihat nih ya, bukan cuma TikTok doang yang minat investasi di Thailand. Tapi perusahaan tech global lainnya kayak Amazon, Microsoft, dan Google sudah berkomitmen untuk berinvestasi miliaran dolar di negara Gajah Putih itu. Permintaan layanan cloud dan teknologi AI saat ini memang sedang berkembang di Asia Tenggara, dan Thailand berhasil memanfaatkannya. Bahkan menurut studi Deloitte, investasi perusahaan global itu bisa menyumbang sekitar 4 miliar US dollar terhadap PDB Thailand pada 2029. Selain itu, 14.000 lapangan kerja bakal tercipta setiap tahunnya, khususnya di antara 2025 hingga 2029. Usut punya usut, ternyata ini bisa terjadi karena Thailand punya serangkaian insentif pajak untuk perusahaan teknologi global, termasuk bea masuk dan pembebasan pajak perusahaan. Insentif ini bikin biaya pendirian jadi berkurang dan aturan regulasinya jadi lebih simpel. Satu hal lagi, di sana katanya minim pungli. Indonesia kapan ya?
Sudah didatangi dan ditawarkan untuk berinvestasi di Indonesia, Elon Musk justru membuka kantor Tesla di Malaysia. Yap, kabar mengejutkan ini berawal dari cuitan Twitter Menteri Perdagangan Internasional Malaysia yang telah menyepakati berdirinya kantor Tesla di Malaysia. Dirinya kantor Tesla di Malaysia ini tentu saja dapat membuka lapangan pekerjaan baru di negara mereka, dan tenaga kerja mereka akan dilatih serta diajari mengenai sistem kendaraan listrik. Hal ini membuat heboh media sosial karena diketahui bahwa di tahun lalu Presiden Jokowi beserta jajarannya pernah datang ke markas Tesla dan menawarkan untuk berinvestasi di Indonesia. Jika dilihat dari segi pasar, tentu saja pasar kendaraan listrik di Indonesia lebih besar dibandingkan di Malaysia. Namun mengapa Elon Musk tidak membuka kantornya di Indonesia? Bung Rocky selaku pengamat politik mengatakan jika langkah Elon membuka kantor cabang di Malaysia adalah sebuah sindiran Elon kepada Indonesia. Sindiran itu adalah soal ketidakpastian hukum, ketidakstabilan politik, dan kesulitan dalam ekonomi yang membuat Bung Rocky mengatakan jika tidak mungkin perusahaan sebesar Tesla tertarik untuk berinvestasi. Kalau menurut kamu dengan dibukanya kantor Tesla di Malaysia, kira-kira apa yang harus diperbaiki oleh Indonesia agar perusahaan raksasa Tesla tertarik untuk berinvestasi dan membuka kantornya di tanah air?
Malaysia is looking to become the semiconductor hub in Southeast Asia as they aim to attract 500 billion ringgit, or about $107 billion, in investments for its semiconductor sector, focusing on integrated circuit design, advanced packaging, and semiconductor chip manufacturing equipment. The country, which contributes 13% of global testing and packaging, has seen significant investments from major firms like Intel and Infineon. Now, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim announced plans to establish at least 10 local companies in chip design and packaging, with projected revenues between $210 million and $1 billion. The government will allocate $5.3 billion in fiscal support and other incentives to attract global tech companies. Malaysia's strategy includes moving into high-value front-end design work and building Southeast Asia's largest integrated circuit design park. One of the big stories that comes out of East Asia is obviously Taiwan, which is a global leading semiconductor producer.
Taiwan
Their manufacturing is bar none the best in the world. However, there's a lot of controversy around Taiwan, particularly with its relationship with China, which makes investors nervous, which makes them look for alternative solutions. And it seems like Malaysia is becoming that hub that the world is looking for.
Dan mungkin ada sebagian kalian yang bertanya, kenapa ya investor itu memilih investasi di Malaysia? Padahal itu tuh skalanya tuh kecil, negaranya juga tidak terlalu luas. Kenapa di Malaysia? Nah, ini ada video yang mungkin bisa menjawab, guys. Kita lihat.
It's not about the size of the population. It's about how productive the economy can be.
The whole Asian has 680 million population.
Di Asia ada 680.
Malaysia is only 5% of the population of ASEAN, which is 34 million. So I would like to ask YB Minister, what are the competitive advantages coming to Malaysia or invest in Malaysia? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think part of the answer is actually the title of the keynote address. You invest in Malaysia, but you expand beyond. So if you look at ASEAN, it's a block of 10 member economies. Yes, you're right, 680 million. But if you break it down, one big country is of course Indonesia, 280 million, right? But you want to use Malaysia as a home base for you to expand beyond Malaysia, to not just exports into ASEAN, but also exports to all over the world. And as I said, we are very much an open economy. We trade 1.3 times bigger than the size of our GDP. And we have various reasons which I will explain later. But first I need to explain that a competitive economy is not based on the size of the
ini
population.
guys, ingat ya.
Who's the most competitive economy in Southeast Asia? It's Singapore. If you want to say Malaysia is only 5%, you know how big is Singapore relative. So it's not about the size of the population. It's about how productive the economy can be, how accessible the economy can be, how conducive the ecosystem of the economy. So why Malaysia, right? So the second question, why Malaysia? It's not about the size of the population, because you don't come to Malaysia for Malaysian market. You come to Malaysia to build a hub for Asia, to be the hub even for global. And that's where our incentives, Malaysian incentive, you look at what we have offered today, is for companies to come in to make it a hub. You get incentive. You want to come here just to do business in Malaysia, you're competing with our local players, you won't make the margin, right? So back to why. Why Malaysia? I think there are three reasons why Malaysia. There are many, but three main top reasons.
Ini tiga alasannya.
Number one is infrastructure, right? If we look at our energy capacity, power, for example, is very important for many industries. You need a lot of electricity. You need also water, and Malaysia has that. Our reserve margin is 20+%, and that's why a lot of data centers, for example, come to Malaysia from China, from US, from Europe, and more recently even from Middle East, where you can have access to stable electricity. And not only that, for Malaysia, we have a net zero target by 2050. So we have a very comprehensive energy transition roadmap where we can also supply green energy to companies who want to invest in Malaysia. And you know, many countries now want exporters to at least meet the sustainability standards by 2030 or even 2050. So that's number one, basically infrastructure, the ports, the roads, the water, the electricity and all that is there, right? Is strong, you know, because we are an export country. For Malaysia, for example, what do we export the most? 80% is manufacturing, only 20% agriculture. Out of that 80% manufacturing, 40% of 80% is E&E product, mainly semiconductor. So we export to all over the world using the infrastructure that we have and leveraging on the various free trade agreements that we sign. So you can also benefit from leveraging on that. So number one is infrastructure. Number two is consistency in policies, right? We have changed in governments, you know, many times. But what's important is that despite the changes in government or administration, the policies have been consistent when it comes to investments, when it comes to trade. Ever since independence, today, we have companies who have been in Malaysia for 40, 50, 60 years. For example, semiconductor. Why are we so strong in semiconductor? Semiconductor has been a sector, an industry in Malaysia since the 1970s. It's already 50 years. That's why we are the 6th largest exporter of semiconductor in the world.
Wow.
These companies didn't just start. And now we have Malaysian companies who are also global champions because of the spillover that was brought in by these multinational companies, including companies from China, Korea, Japan, and from the Asian part of the world. So consistent policies, rule of law, etc. is important. And third, I think where we also have an advantage when I speak to companies why they come here, right, is also about talent. We do have a strong talent pool. I mean, all of you know Malaysians, many can speak English and many can speak Mandarin as well. But what's important is that the talent pool are there, skilled talent, as well for various industries. So these, I think, are the three key reasons. But you mentioned the word competitive advantage. We are not competitive in all sectors, for sure. Right? Agriculture is not something we are looking at, food security, etc. We're not really exporting, right? We are importing more than we are exporting for food, for crops. But for other sectors where we are strong in, we would like to see companies from China or from any other parts of the world to take part in building up that ecosystem. So the 5 sectors that we are strong in and we have competitive advantage and we want to build on that. One is E&E sector. I mentioned a bit about the E&E sector, how important it is, especially semiconductor. Number 2 is chemical, petrochemical. You know, we are strong in oil and gas sectors, but we are also moving downstream to chemical and petrochemical. This is an area where many companies also from all over the world coming in to co-invest with Malaysian companies. Thirdly, we talk about digital economy. I've mentioned data centers, the AI, and the software application that's required behind that. There's many Chinese companies also in this field, especially in technology, both infra and application. So this is another space where Malaysia wants to play in. Number 4 is on pharmaceutical and medical devices.
Ini nih, guys.
So on our healthcare side, there's a big manufacturing capacity to build on. The last 30, 40 years, we have built a lot on pharmaceutical and medical devices. And finally is aerospace. This is another area where Malaysia has heavily invested in the aerospace industry. These are in the manufacturing side. Of course, the services side, there's tourism, there's other parts, logistics, financial services. So these are still important because our economy, 70% investment is still driven by the services sector. Manufacturing is more for exports in a way. So these are the reason why you should come to Malaysia.
Itu alasannya ya.
For Malaysia, we work with everyone. We don't believe in a zero-sum game.
Jadi mereka tuh
If
terbuka.
Vietnam becomes stronger, Thailand becomes stronger, Malaysia becomes stronger, good. You cannot one country become stronger and the rest don't, because then it creates instability, right? So that's why when we talk about ASEAN, we want to see ASEAN growing at 4 to 5%, but not one country growing at 10, the rest growing at 1.
Yeah.
So we need to grow together so that become a very prosperous region. We want a growth in ASEAN, a growth that is sustainable, a growth that is inclusive, a growth that is equitable, and a growth that is resilient.
Ingat ya, tadi yang dibahas di sini bahwa bukan soal size, bukan soal ukuran, bukan soal populasi, tapi bagaimana negara tersebut itu mempunyai peluang yang besar. Yang tadi sudah disebutkan ya, Malaysia adalah penghasil semikonduktor, kemudian digital ekonomi. Yang menurut pemaparan tersebut itu Malaysia udah sangat kompeten banget atau udah sangat layak banget untuk dijadikan negara yang layak untuk para investor itu berinvestasi di sana gitu. Dan barusan statement yang terakhir yang bikin gue kayak, oh ini keren nih orang. Dia tuh gak mau Malaysia aja yang maju, yang naik, yang berkembang gitu. Di ASEAN itu ada banyak negara lain, ada 10 kan. Nah mereka tuh pengen yang lain juga ayo naik sama-sama gitu. Nanti naik di dunia juga. Karena dia tuh memandangnya kita sebagai ASEAN guys, negara yang kita tuh serumpun gitu. Itu statement yang luar biasa menurut gua. Jadi Malaysia tuh gak mau kelihatan unggul gitu. Pengen sama-sama maju. Dan jika ngomongin soal size, kalian bisa lihat Singapura ya. Singapura negaranya sangat kecil banget gitu. Populasinya sedikit dibandingkan dengan Malaysia jauh, apalagi dengan Indonesia. Tapi kalian lihat, para investor justru banyak banget datang ke Singapura. So, ini bukan soal size, tapi soal bagaimana negara tersebut bisa menguntungkan, khususnya menguntungkan buat para investor asing. So, dari video kali ini guys, sorry banget kalau pengetahuan aku agak kurang di sini. Semoga bisa jadi pelajaran buat kita semua, dan kita berharap semoga negara di ASEAN itu bisa sama-sama tumbuh dan berkembang menjadi lebih baik lagi. Itu saja video aku, saya Dampir pamit. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.